Rashad, my man, how's it going? It's been a couple months.
Yeah, it's been a couple of months. A lot of things have changed. Yeah, yeah.
Needless to say.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
Let's talk about it.
let's
Let's
talk. I
talk
like your
about it.
new background, by the way.
Yeah, there's a couple of changes. A couple of things have changed for the better on my side.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Look
good.
better than Matt Rhule's office right now.
Yeah, it should be pretty cleaned out.
Yeah. Not a surprise, though. We talked a couple of months ago, and I know you were feeling a little bit better after the draft, but still, hey, they got to play games. And a lot of things just didn't change during the seasons. Same old Panthers that we've seen under Matt Rhule.
Yeah, same Panthers. It's unfortunate for the defensive side of the football because they get overlooked. And they're playing decent football, not the best. I mean, we have some gaps, especially early. We were getting gashed in the run game, giving up some big plays on some big calls, but the offense just could not get it going. And over the 3 or 2.5 or 2 years in a game in 5 games worth of offense for Matt Rhule, it got worse. Like the offense got progressively worse each year. It started out okay with Teddy Bridgewater. Given we had Joe Brady, that was the best our offenses looked with Teddy Bridgewater and Joe Brady at OC. And then you bring in Sam Darnold, and it just goes downhill from there. And now you got McAdoo and Baker, and this is the worst our offenses look. It's just got progressively worse.
Yeah, so
Um,
Mayfield is now what? Just out a couple of weeks?
yeah, well, Mayfield's got a high ankle sprain, so he's going to be out for. I think the reports are saying 2 to 6 weeks,
Okay.
but they did not IR him, so I would assume that he'd be back before the 4 games.
All
So
right. So Walker takes over.
PJ.
PJ Walker takes over. And we don't see Sam now for what? We may not even see him this season?
Well, Sam is on IR. Sam is recovering. I would assume that he would be back. It's I think it's imminent. His return is imminent at this point. I
Okay.
think if this is my opinion, I don't have any insider information. He was put on IR, so he's obviously had to sit out the 4 weeks. And Matt Rhule said he was a couple of weeks out. A couple of weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see. We will see. I don't think he's going to start this week. And I don't know how the new staff feels about him. I tell you what, I would like to see. I'm not gonna lie. I would like to see Sam Darnold behind a better offensive line.
Why not?
I'm not saying he would be the future. But at this point, he can't look worse than Baker. He looks awful. So at this point, I don't think at this point, why not?
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with Baker. Baker, the Baker that started his career. It's almost, like these young quarterbacks, you never know what happens mentally. When they lose their confidence, sometimes you just never get it back. And we don't even know if Sam will get it back, but at least, like you said, we're going to find out. He's going to play and he's going to get a chance. So by the end of the
Yeah, I mean,
season,
I can tell you what happened to Baker. Baker does not have a number one offensive line and a number one run game to prop him up,
there you go.
and a great defense,
Good
which is
point.
what I said.
Yeah.
Which is what I said in our show.
Yeah.
I told you I was a little nervous about that because he had everything going for him in Cleveland. He had the perfect situation as a quarterback. He had a good defense. You had one of the best running backs in the game. Just from a pure running standpoint, we got Christian McCaffrey, but from a pure running game standpoint, turn around, hand the football off. Didn't get much better than Chubb and Hunt. And he had good receivers. He had the best offensive line you could have. We knew that it was not going to be like that here.
Sure.
It wasn't. And so he had and one of the best offensive minds in the game is Stefanski. So like I mean, I knew this was going to happen. It basically turned out exactly how I thought it would.
Yeah, and look, when we talked about it, it was like, all right, well, you just give him a chance. You never know. Sometimes it works, but it wasn't a big cost. That's why it was a
Right.
good deal. Still, nothing wrong with it, especially with Sam getting hurt. Okay, you tried it out. It didn't work. All right, so do you blame the general manager just as much as the head coach?
No.
Okay, why?
The reason being because Matt Rhule has final roster say. He
Okay.
he had the final decision on all roster moves. And when you have that kind of power, it all falls on you. You fall on the sword. It has to be you. our general manager is basically a figurehead. He doesn't have any real power. And again, this we can go like back to and go back in history, and you can kind of see exactly when this thing failed. It failed the moment we fired Ron Rivera and did not immediately let go of Marty Herney. We kept Marty Herney. Marty Herney was in on the decision making to bring in Matt Rhule, and then you fire Matt Rhule after you you fire Herney after you bring in Matt Rhule to bring in another GM. That's a trickle effect. There's no way a GM is going to be successful. So at this point, you have to turn the reins over to the GM and give him his power.
Absolutely.
And Tepper kind of admitted that. He kind of admitted that in the press conference. He said that, I can't give the head coach as much power when it comes to roster. Say the GM has to be a meeting of the minds between the two, and that's not what the case. That's not how it was here.
Sure.
Matt Rhule had all the power, albeit Scott Fitter he doesn't get off scot-free because a lot of these trades have not worked, and he deserves some blame. But at the end of the day, it all falls on Matt Rhule, and that's just kind of what it is.
Yeah, but when you don't have the final say, even when you're making those trades, that's telling me that you really can't make those trades without your head coach giving you either the okay or he's in on a trade.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. He has to approve it, and I feel like it was just a thing where Matt Rhule would say, "Hey, this is a guy I want. Let's go get him.
Yeah.
You figure it out."
Yeah.
And so I think that's the way it worked in Carolina. That's my opinion. Again, I don't have the biggest, I guess, thing we can go off is Joe Person's article when he wrote about, Matt Rhule having final roster say and it being true. We all kind of speculated, but he kind of, let it be known that was in fact the case. So, his hands are kind of tied. I would like to see Scott Fitterer get his shot at bringing in a head coach that he wants. That's how it's supposed to work.
And do you believe that's going to be the case
now? You're supposed to bring in the guys together. I don't know. I don't know. Based off of what I heard from Tepper, I don't know which way it's going to go.
It could be off season, cleaning house. We're bringing someone in, and that person we bring in is going to run the whole show. That could happen.
And I don't even think Scott Fitterer's job is safe at this point, but because Tepper gave him no assurance that, hey, he's going to be the guy next year. So I think you could absolutely see a clean house moment. I think Tepper, based off of what I heard from him, he's going to be patient with it. He's going to be patient with Steve Wilks and let him, it's really difficult to go from interim to permanent head coach. It rarely happens. But he has an opportunity. Like I said, I've been saying this. Anybody that listens to me knows that I don't think it's a talent issue. It's not a talent issue on this roster. We have a competitive enough roster to at least make a wild card spot.
Especially this year in the NFC.
Enough roster. Right, exactly. And so I think Wilks could coach it out. He could turn it around. Now, I am a realist. Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen because he's working with a fourth-string quarterback at this point. He's got a lot of injuries on the defensive side of football. So he's basically handicapped. He's got his hands tied behind his back right now. So it'll be a miracle if he can string together some wins. But if he does, you have to give him some consideration at the head coach's job. And I think he did not get a fair shot in Arizona. And so, he had 1 year and they canned him. And Steve Wilks is cut from the Ron Rivera tree. He's been here since from 2012 to 2017. So he knows he's from Charlotte. He knows the deal here. And so he can really provide us some of that old school Carolina football that we've been missing. So we'll see.
I think that my guess would be that if he does a decent enough job, the only way that they go then and hire someone is that they hire a big name. So let's go over the short list. Does it start and end with Sean Payton, or do we go through? Do we have like a top three?
I have a personal top. I have a personal top three, which does include Sean Payton. However, that's highly unlikely to happen. It's not the Saints because they own his rights.
There you go. You probably have to give him like 2 first-round draft picks or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So his rights don't expire until 2024.
Oh, so two more full seasons or one more full season after this?
Right. I think it's after this. One more full season. Don't quote me on this. Yeah, I think it's one more full season after this one. But they still
maybe we'll give Wilks another year.
They still own his rights.
and then see what happens.
Maybe they wait.
Yeah,
maybe they wait it out. Yeah, maybe they wait it out. I don't know.
We're speculating.
I do like Sean Payton.
So give me your
Yeah,
list.
Yeah, I like Sean Payton. Sean Payton, if it was left to 3, I would go D'Amico Ryans he's not one because I want an offensive mind. I want an offensive minded head coach, but D'Amico's doing
your list.
This is my list. Okay. So this is my list. So D'Amico Ryans, I think would be Wilks? A good fit here. We've
wait and see. Okay.
Wait and see. Yeah, I need to wait and see, honestly. But D'Amico Ryans, he does such a good job with the 49ers defense, going up against that Shanahan offense every day. He's put together a good defense. So and listen, we've never had an offensive minded head coach here in Carolina. So if we go that route, it wouldn't surprise me that we bring in another defensive minded.
D'Amico Ryans.
So D'Amico Ryans, I would like to see us get some Buffalo get back. So give me Ken Dorsey because he's from us as well. He used to be our quarterback's coach here when Cam was here. Yeah. So give me Ken Dorsey back. So Ken Dorsey would be another good look, albeit he does have a short stint at offensive coordinator for the Bills. But I think he's capable. And if I had to go with the offensive mind, he'd be on that list. Sean Payton, who we talked about on that list. Also take a look at Byron Leftwich. Byron Leftwich from Tampa. I think that would be a good look as well.
Wait, Byron Leftwich actually also coached at Arizona. So that would mean maybe if Byron Leftwich came, maybe Wilks would stay on.
Maybe, but I don't think it would be a lateral move. I think he would want the head coaching job. And the interesting thing about Leftwich is that he did not take a job last year because he didn't want to work with the GM that they were trying to get him to work with. And I can't remember what team it was. But he signed the contract. He was going to be the guy. They had named him the head coach, and then he didn't want to work with that GM. And so he understands that you're not going to tie me to a guy if we're not on the same page, right? And that's what happened here in Carolina. We brought two different minds together. They weren't on. I'm not saying they weren't on the same page, but they may have had two different philosophies. So if Leftwich is the guy, look for another GM to potentially come in.
Okay,
he's not going to want to. Potentially not.
So
with that.
That's a good short list. Especially Leftwich makes even more sense than Dorsey because he's been around a little bit longer, like having a little bit more experience.
Yep.
Yes.
Super Bowl.
And and then like you said, offense. But I mean, it's probably overdue that you got to bring in somebody on the offensive side sooner or later. Because you said never.
Never. All of our guys have been defensive guys. Ron Rivera.
That's right. Rivera
John
was there
Fox,
so long.
George Seifert.
Yes.
Yeah, Seifert. Capers.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, they're all
those guys.
All of them.
Yeah, old style, hard, defensive guys. So, all right. Well, I like that list. Okay, so.
And then Matt Rhule, which was a nobody. He didn't know either side of the football. So I mean, So he doesn't count as either.
Where do you think he's going? Back to college?
Yeah. I certainly hope so. He doesn't belong in the NFL. I'll tell you that. Right. Way in over his head.
We'll see what kind of ego he has. A big one, I'm sure. Okay. Let's talk about trade possibilities. All right. Mm-hmm. The obvious two are McCaffrey and DJ Moore. So let's go McCaffrey. This is a very difficult situation because of the fact that your owner has got to a deal of such magnitude. When does he even know if he's comfortable with that general manager making that type of move? If he's not even comfortable, that general manager is going to be around very long. So what do you think? Do you think because of that, a big deal like that probably won't happen?
I don't know, but I can see us because we only have 4 picks next year. We'll have 4 picks: a first, a second. I want to say, well, depending on how Baker goes, he plays I think more than 7 games, something like that. 70% of the snaps, I think it escalates to a 4th round pick. So it'll be a 4th or a 5th, and I think a 6th. So we don't have many picks. So I can see us if we're gonna go full on rebuild. And I think Christian McCaffrey could get traded. And I love Christian McCaffrey, and I think he is being done a disservice by not having a viable option at quarterback. have essentially built this team around him, and that's not how you build a team. He's a great individual talent. I love him. He's got padded stats for days. He's got all the stats in the world, but it's never equated to W's for us, right? We always have L's. He can have 100 and 100,
yeah.
100 yards receiving, 100 yards rushing, and it doesn't matter because
it's the NFL now. It doesn't work through the running backs anymore. Yeah,
exactly. So I've been pounding the table for us to trade Christian McCaffrey for a long time. One, because I think we're doing him a disservice. He needs to be on a winner. And two, I just feel like the longer we go, the lesser his value is going to be. Like he's healthy right now.
What's his contract situation?
You might want to. So he is in year 3 of he becomes a free agent in year 2026.
And his contract tradable?
So he's got
it's gonna be tough.
There's a lot of money we're gonna eat to trade him, and that's why I don't think we're gonna get as much trade capital for him. Like I don't think we'll get a first. Like everybody thinks we'll get a first round for Christian, and we're not. I think we'll get like a second, maybe third, or something like that. Maybe something in return. It makes it a little difficult. It's not the best contract
unless you bring on another contract. So
correct, unless and it can be done. Like there's ways to finagle it. If somebody eats some of the part of the deal, but that's going to lesser the trade value. The more finagling you're working with the contract, the lesser value you're going to get. So
to me, that if he gets traded, it'll happen before the draft sometime in the offseason. Because by then, the owner will have made his decision up on who he's going to trust to make the next hiring, to lead this franchise for at least another couple of years, unless he makes that decision now. I mean, if we see McCaffrey gets traded before this year's deadline, he has to trust Fitter is going to be here for a little while, at least a couple of years, and be given the opportunity to bring in the next head coach.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. And listen, you take Christian McCaffrey away off of this roster, on paper, it makes it more difficult to find a head coach, right? Who you take away the best weapon, and
you don't have a franchise quarterback yet.
As I thought it was. Exactly. We have several options. I mean, we still got Matt Corral.
You don't know.
We don't know. He's hurt. We don't know. So we're in a real. And I said this. You listen to my show. I said this about Matt Corral. He's getting lost in the sauce. And I said this would happen. He's going to get drafted by Rhule, and then Rhule's going to get fired, and now he's in no man's land. Because anytime you get a new quarterback, a new head coach, they're going to want to bring in their quarterback. And so now he's in no man's land. He's going to probably end up being like Josh Rosen, and kind of flop around the league.
You never know, but I see what you're saying.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for
the
Corral.
Injuries. I mean, that's just you start the season off with 2 injuries at quarterback. It's we have three injuries
now. All three of our guys got
uncertainty at quarterback. That's bad. All right, DJ Moore.
DJ Moore, to me, he's untouchable. To me, I think his contract is team friendly. It's not a huge contract, so it's manageable. I'm not touching this man's contract. He has yet to play with a viable option quarterback as well.
Oh, absolutely.
He's played with Kyle Allen. It's been awful, and he's done nothing but produce. The only quarterback he's been unable to produce with.
I know it. I drafted him on my fantasy
team.
And I haven't started him since after week 1. Yeah. So I'm just, and
I don't blame him.
I'm just being patient. I'm like, either Sam's going to come back, and he did fine with Sam last year, and his stats will go back up, or he'll get traded. And if he gets traded, he'll have more value. So you don't think then, you say you wouldn't trade him though, is that because you don't believe the Panthers would get a first round pick, and therefore if they're only going to get a second or a third, it's just not worth it?
Yeah, I think that I don't think they'll get a first round for DJ. I think they will get a second or a third. To me, I think DJ is talented. I think DJ is a top 10 wide receiver in this league. That's my opinion, right? Some people will push back on that, and
stats don't lie.
You have every right to do so. But I think DJ Moore, you cannot take the, and then who are we left with at that point?
You're right.
Like you got Robbie, who is probably gonna go.
He might get traded.
He's a Rhule guy at this
get
point.
Traded.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm not gonna trade my main guy. I'm gonna trade DJ Moore.
You can get like a
Robbie
6th round pick for Anderson, something like that. Add to your draft capital.
Exactly. Yeah. Something. Sure. Anything is better than nothing for a guy. His contract, I think, is going to expire.
Why wouldn't
why
wouldn't a team like the Packers give up like a late round pick to get Robbie Anderson with their receiving situation? I'd bring on a couple of veteran receivers. I'm trying to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if he pushes his way out because Matt Rhule was his guy.
That's right. Yes.
That was his without Matt. He literally handed Matt Rhule the game ball when we beat the Saints. So Matt, that's his guy. Matt Rhule was the guy that gave him his contract.
Temple buddies.
So I think, yeah, exactly. So without Matt Rhule, I think Robbie Anderson becomes expendable. I think you see him.
That makes a lot of sense. I just thinking of that. I got to keep him on my my watch list as a potential pickup. He gets traded somewhere with a really good quarterback.
He's good too. Yep, you put him with a good quarterback. I think Robbie can. Robbie can do something, especially in a deep game. I think he can do some.
Okay, how have because we haven't talked since after the draft and before the season. So how have the rookies been overall? Out of the what was it? So 6 draft picks in total. Out of the Corral, of course, injured. So starting with Ekwonu, how have they played? How have they looked?
Yeah, Icky had a rough start going up against the Browns. Obviously, going against Myles Garrett, gave up 2 sacks in that game. But man, he has come along. Man. I think he was rated. I think he had a 92 PFF grade last week. So he is starting to come along. And I knew it would take a little bit of time to get his bearings about him. But if you look at our offensive line, we talked about how bad our offensive lines have been. Boy, are they a bright spot. They are a bright spot, and it's so refreshing to finally have an offensive line that can hold up. Icky's doing his thing. He's doing great. Like I said, I don't think he's given up a sack in the last 2 games. Don't quote me on that. But again, after the rough start, he's coming right along, and he's about where I thought he could be. And I think he's ahead of pace of where I thought he would be at this point. I think I thought it would take him a full year to kind of be like, all right, I'm playing now. I'm playing good, but he's doing well right now.
And what about the rest? Well. How about Brandon Smith and Barno and Mays and Barnes? Nothing.
Everybody else you can skip because they're not playing. Barno is not playing. Brandon Smith is not playing. I think Brandon Smith is a little banged up. Cade Mays has not played, and then Kalon Barnes actually is with Miami right now. So we let him go. And
so Mays is hurt. No, Mays is on the offensive line, so we're not going to worry about that. Barno
he's
and
not
Smith.
Hurt. He's not hurt. He's just not playing.
Barno's a 6th-round draft pick, but he did have some pass rush ability in college. But you're saying he just hasn't picked it up yet.
He hasn't been active, really. I think we're looking to play with a little more beef on the edge, and he's got to put on some weight. He's a year, maybe a year away.
So Brandon Smith's really the only one with a legitimate chance, and he just hasn't really received playing time.
Brandon's been hurt. Okay, he's been a little banged up. But I do think now with Wilks, because we let go of Phil Snow too, our defensive coordinator. I think with Wilks or with Al Holcomb taking the reins, I think you'll see, because they like the blitz. Oh, they like the blitz. Smith he's so fast, and I think you'll see him line up at linebacker and coming off the edge and blitz a little bit more. So I think you will see more Brandon Smith. But I thought he's another guy that I thought would be a little ways off. Just because I think he's a little raw.
Sure.
But I think with Al Holcomb and Wilks at the helm, I think we're going to see a lot more blitzing. And I think you could see him getting the game.
Okay. And then since I have you on injuries, you mentioned that. So Jeremy Chin, how long is he out for? A lot of injuries.
At least 4 weeks on IR right now. So we're a week in, so 3 more weeks, and then he'll be eligible to return. I think after the Falcons game, the second Falcons game.
Okay.
And then I think Xavier Woods has a hamstring. He was a little banged up. He missed last game. Frankie Louvu also banged up, missed last game. And so we got a lot of injuries on the defensive side of football. So I think as they get healthy, we'll get better. But yeah, a lot of injuries. A lot of injuries we're dealing
Who
with.
is there somebody that has stepped up on defense that you didn't expect?
I would
Or is
say
it the usual names? Brian Burns.
yeah, it's Burns. Burns is definitely doing his thing. I think he has 4 sacks on the season so far. So he's well on his way to get that double-digit number he's been seeking since his rookie year. So, and I thought that would I think that would happen.
J.C. Horn's playing well.
J.C. Horn. Yeah, we can't just gloss over J.C.
Yeah,
because I think he's banged up too at this point. I don't
Okay.
know what his status is, but man, he's been playing so well. Like he's been playing really well. I think he's given up. I think he's got like 2 shutout games so far. And I think don't quote me on the stats, but he's like giving up less than 30 yards over the past 3 or 4 games. Like he's only gotten beat once, and that was the first game. Since then, he's been locking up whoever he's been on.
Shut down corner.
He's been a bright spot. I say CJ Henderson's been a little disappointing.
Okay.
I was a big CJ Henderson fan. He's not looking so hot. So I'm a little disappointed in him. As far as stepping up, Frankie Louvu, man, he's been balling. But he's hurt right now. He's been a really good bright spot. Matt Ioannidis is coming along as well. He's the guy that we picked up from the football team or the Commanders. Picked him up from them, and he's been playing really well after a slow start. So we're picking it up. Defensive line, Derrick Brown's doing he's having his best season so far.
Okay.
So our defense is not the problem. We just got to have our offense meet us halfway. If our offense can meet us halfway in some of these games, we will be winning a lot more games than we lost.
And really, it's quarterback, we know, but also sooner or later, you got to find a good tight end.
Well, I think so. Yeah, I don't think we have the best tight ends in the world. They tend to drop a lot of footballs, and they're given the crazy thing is that they're given a lot of opportunity. McAdoo really likes drawing up plays for the tight ends, and so they're given all the opportunity in the world to kind of show what they got, and they just can't. It's just not. Yeah, it's not it. It's not it. So
yeah, well,
it
a lot
is
of work to be
But
done.
yeah, a lot.
That's why the team needs draft picks.
Yes, I agree.
By the way, I like the move to get Chenaulton if he could ever stay healthy. I know that was his problem back in Colorado, and if that kid had ever had a health-free career, I think he could be a very good player in this league. He just can never stay healthy.
Yeah, Chenault's got a hamstring as well. I think we got the most hamstring. We lead the league in hamstring injuries. I gotta say, but yeah, Chenault. I mean, he came in when he got an opportunity. He came in and had like the 65-yard touchdown. That was the first or second play of his first or second touch that he had, and that's what we're missing. That's what this offense is missing. And so we do miss him. And I think Matt Rhule was slow to get him on the field. I think he sat the first game he was when we got him. Then in the second game he came in and he made immediate impact and hasn't done much. I think he missed. He was in the previous game against the. Who do we play prior to that? He played in that game a little bit, but then he missed last week against the 49ers.
And Terrace Marshall is just not. It's just not happening.
Yeah, Terrace is another guy that's kind of he's a little bit of a disappointment. I don't think he's given much opportunity. He's been inactive, which is insane.
Yeah.
The past, he played last week, but prior to that, he was inactive. And that's not a good look. We need him to come along. I think when we talk about potentially trading Robbie Anderson, he's a guy that we need to step up. And I think he has the talent. We just haven't seen it. And I don't know what the deal is. And I could say that coaching is maybe holding him back. I think the offensive scheme is a problem too, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. We'll see if things change with Wilks and maybe we get a little bit more aggressive. So we'll see. Yeah,
and if you're out of it early, you got to play the young kids. You got to see what you got. So
exactly.
That's
agreed.
It is what it is. I mean, I know the feeling. It's been a nice start to my team's season, and it's been a while that I could say that. It's sort of like the start you guys had last year. So I'm not going overboard thinking that it's going to change, but we both know how it is. When you have rebuilding football teams, it's hard as a fan. But now I think there's got to be some hope, right? That, okay, let's just move on. Let's just get this next, whatever it is, whoever's in charge of this team, you got to get it right. And like you said, there's potential there. There's
Yeah.
building blocks, but don't screw it up, because if someone else screws it up, then you're talking 3, 4, 5 more years before you can fix this thing.
Yep. I think getting rid of Matt Rhule was step one. He's a college coach, and like I said, college coaches, direct college coaches with no NFL experience don't belong in the NFL.
Yeah.
You got to cut your teeth somewhere. And I thought that was it was a move that set us back, like you just said, a couple of years. That being said, the ultimate problem to this Rubik's Cube of the Carolina Panthers is our owner. He's the problem. Until he acknowledges his mistakes and gets some smarter people around him, I think we're going to continue to be in this cycle. So
that's it.
You
got to get somebody. And see, I've had the same thing with the Jets, where it took Woody Johnson a long enough time before he found the right guy, Joe Douglas, to run the show. And he doesn't get involved. He just lets Joe Douglas run the show. And that's what has to happen at Carolina. And it's not easy, but you got to make that right hire. It's hard because you're the owner, and he's got to make the right hire. Does he have to make the right hire to make the right hire? Or is he going to actually be the one that's going? Oh, I know what I'm doing, and I'm gonna make sure that this guy is in charge of. So it's a very tough situation, and owners can ruin everything for your football team.
The guy literally said in his press conference yesterday that he's into discussions about who's playing quarterback. Like that's not how the organization is supposed to be run. Yeah, you're a billionaire. You pay people to make these decisions. Like let the football people make the football moves. Yes. He's in the draft rooms. He's everywhere, and he has to step away. I think that's the only way that this franchise is going to be successful is if he takes a step back and trusts who he hires. And again, hire this guy. Listen, his justification for hiring Matt Rhule is he looks like me, he smells like me. We got this whole, and it's just stupid. Okay, he hopped on a plane. He found his toy, and he thought he had the answer. And he has to take the step back. He has to humble himself. I know it's hard for a billionaire. He has to humble himself and turn the reins over to somebody that knows what they're doing. Because he's all about, economic growth and the money, right? Because we got the soccer team, got all these things going on in Charlotte. He wants to be recognized, acknowledged for that. Like, we don't care about that. Panthers fans want to win football. That's what we care about. I don't watch soccer. I could care less about soccer.
Sure.
Win us football games.
Yes.
And that's where the focus needs to be. His attention is all these other places. And until we get it focused on football, we'll be in this never-ending cycle.
Well, look, Jacksonville finally appears to have it right with Doug Peterson. He's I think going to be a stabilizing force there. So you just you got to just hope. And look, it sounds like to me that maybe the right guy or type of person to bring in is going to be a Sean Payton type, somebody that will walk into the room in a meeting and say, all right, if I'm the man, then I'm the man. And that means you're going to leave me alone. I'm going to run the show. I'm going to do things the way I'm going to do things. And that's the deal. And I have a track record. Unlike Matt Rhule.
Exactly.
You gave him control, but he had no track record. So you want to give somebody a track record, give it to someone like Sean Payton or someone like Sean Payton. So it sounds to me like, because Steve Wilks, if he's the guy, does he still meddle? Does he still think like, I'm going to have to be there and I'm going to have to be a present part of what's going on? And is Steve Wilks, is he okay with that? Maybe he is, because he's not Sean Payton. He doesn't have that type of a legacy where he's like offended by it. And I know what I'm doing. Don't need you around. If you're okay with that, sign on the dotted. I'll sign on the dotted line. And you know what? If you interfere, I'll walk out. I'll quit. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think Tepper values, especially Wilks. Wilks is from here. Like, he's from Charlotte. He played. I think he coached or played at West Charlotte. Went to West Charlotte High School. Went to Johnson C. Smith.
Okay.
So he is Charlotte. So I think he values that. And I think Wilks will stick around. I think he'll be kind of one of those linchpins.
One way or another, yeah.
And I do think Tepper wants Sean Payton.
Okay.
I think he would give anything to get Sean Payton in Carolina.
Okay.
I think I really think that's who he
Okay.
wants. And if you saw the clip going around, I think there was an interview with Sean Payton, and he pretty much admitted to Tepper calling him without. I don't know if you've seen
No, I
it,
haven't
but
yet seen
it was kind of awkward. It was kind of awkward. He acknowledged it, but then kind of walked it back. But I just don't know how we get it done with the Saints. I would if I was Tepper, I would literally pay for the Saints for a new stadium. Like, I would give them whatever they want. Give me.
Well,
Sean
again, they're going to want
without us
draft
having to
picks.
give up draft
Yeah.
picks. Without us having to give
Yeah.
up draft picks, we don't have any unless
You're
they're
right.
future.
You're right.
I just can't. I can't see us
How
giving up. That's why I don't see it.
They don't need a running back, or I would say, how about Christian McCaffrey? But they have Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, that would be nuts if they got both of those guys.
So, well, hey, you know what? Like you said, do anything. We'll find out. I mean, it's going to be a story that won't go away. That's for sure.
It's not.
Unless they hire somebody and give him a 5-year contract, in the the offseason, and his name is not Sean Payton. But up until that time, one way or another, that's going to be the story. And if in fact it happens, when it happens, we'll look forward to talking to you about it, because you're okay with that. That'll be something that you'll definitely thumbs up.
Oh, Sean Payton? Yeah, I would thumbs up Sean Payton. I love Sean Payton. Again, I've gotten a chance. I see him twice a year for the past for however long he's been the Saints coach, for seemed like forever. But yeah, so I'm on board with Sean Payton. I want an offensive mind, and he's that offensive mind that can get it done. And I think he knows the division. He knows how to win in the division. He's familiar with everybody. I think that just gives us a heads up. And like I said, I don't know if it's necessary to blow up the entire roster. Maybe a couple of pieces here and there that we trade away. But I think we can be competitive pretty quickly. If you look at the state of the division,
absolutely,
Tom Brady's going to be getting out of here. The Saints aren't that great, to be honest.
No, they're on their way down. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Falcons aren't that great either. So if we can
manage
it without blowing everything up. Yeah, exactly. So if we can manage it without blowing it up, get a good coach in here and allow him to get his quarterback. If we can get the Sean Payton, CJ Stroud marriage, I think we're off to the races.
There you go. That would be awesome. And who knows? Maybe Matt Corral. It kind of reminds me a little of Drew Brees.
Maybe I think so. And maybe he does. I don't know.
You never know.
You're right. Because if that's the case, then we don't need that first.
You never know,
right? Necessarily.
Sean might have an opinion on that we are unfamiliar with. He might he might like something that Matt Corral brings to the table. So these are the answers.
Where's number 9 too?
What's that?
So he wears number 9.
Okay, that's nice. I like it.
Yeah.
Rashad, appreciate it. Shows, how many you do a week still?
Man, I don't know, man. I go live. I
often as possible.
I went live 3 times when Matt Rhule got fired. I spent over half the day live. Well, I did several interviews with news and everybody. So I go live whenever the news breaks, but we're scheduled every Monday night, 8:30 or 9 o'clock, depending on I got class. So 9 o'clock every Monday. We'll go with that. We haven't missed the show in forever. So we go live Mondays no matter what. And then we try to do previews on Wednesdays. I don't know if we'll get one tonight, but we'll see what happens. But Monday for sure, we're live. Appreciate it, Rashad. Panther Nation Podcast. Check it out. The link in the description area. And don't forget to subscribe, not only here, but over at Panther Nation Podcast if you're a Carolina Panther fan. Rashad, we'll talk to you again, hopefully at some point, either by the end of the season, especially if, who knows, maybe next month, if there's a big trade in the next few weeks, or at some point, definitely before the draft. So best of luck, Panther fan, and we'll talk next time. Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Rashad.